So just to put things into perspective, so Bank of America, we've aligned ourselves around 8 lines of business. So we have 4 that focus on individuals, so think about the consumer bank, preferred and small business, so small business being really those under $5 million in sales. And then our 2 wealth management businesses, both the private bank and Merrill. From a wholesale banking perspective, we have 3 businesses focused on companies, so business banking, which is the one I run, global commercial banking, and corporate investment banking. And then we have the global markets business, which really focused on institutions, so investors. And so we have teams in business banking, about 1,200 teammates around the country in about 150 cities, really focusing on helping companies grow and prosper. And so just to put in the context why I'm here and why I think this segment and you all are so important. So if you look at stats from the Small Business Association, which kind of classifies companies of under 500 employees as being a small business. So companies like you employ about 58 million Americans. You created about 66% of the jobs created in the last 2 decades. So we've been in this economic boom. 66% of the jobs have been created by companies like you. However, the challenge is what we're seeing in the future. So if we go back to the financial crisis, from the first quarter of 2008 to the fourth quarter of 2009, 5.7 million jobs were lost by these same set of companies, which is over 60% of those lost in the entire financial crisis. So while you do lead the way and you're critical for the vitality of the US economy and largely for the global economy, you're also the first to suffer when things go sideways. And so it's a real focus for our teammates. So my background, I currently run business banking. I've been doing this for the last 2 years. Prior to this, I ran our global transaction services business, which is, think about cash management for the largest companies in the world across 68 countries. So I spent a lot of time overseas. I've been the CFO of a venture-backed startup, and I started my career as a consultant. So I've been on both sides of the aisle when I think about this issue. So when my teammates and I talk to you all, to business owners, I try to think about it in the context of your journey, because the journey you all have is as varied as the companies you run and own. Where are you starting out? Are you at a generational transition? A lot of owners who are owning businesses who survived the last economic crisis are looking at the inflated valuations from private equity these days and saying, is it time to punch out? Should I transition to my children or my siblings or other family members? Those are all questions that myself and my partners in Merrill and the private bank are all helping you all grapple with. Thinking about rapid growth and expansion. There's massive amounts of opportunity, but can you take advantage of it? But these questions, and they're similar in your minds. You think about, do you have enough customers and capital? Have you thought about how you're going to finance the growth, the composition of your balance sheet? And you have many more options today than you've had in the past. So what I thought I'd do is just provide you a little bit of context on what we're seeing in the marketplace. So when I think about this evolving landscape, there's a couple things. So just to deal with the recession question that everyone always asks me. So our economists are forecasting that the US is still in growth mode. It's, albeit slower than it had been in the past. Let's put in the context, 2018, US economy grew at about 2.9%. We're forecasting 1.7 for next year. We'll be about 2.3 this year. And it looks similar for most economies. The Eurozone was at about 2% in 18, it's going to be about 1% in 2020. China, 6.6, 6%. And the only one that's really growing continually is India, which was at 6.8 in 2018, and is going to be at 7% in 2020. What's weighing on all your minds, or what we're hearing from our clients, our network? Brexit, trade wars, central bank actions, be it quantitative easing or rates, or rate levels or negative rates. And then the political risks and gridlock that not only are happening in this country, but everywhere else around the world where you have rising nationalism, uncertainty. Those things are creating uncertainty, which really has the impact of affecting business growth, business investment. So business investment from 18 to 19 has dropped down in half by 350 basis points. So it's gone from 7% to 3.5%. And what that does, that has knock-on impacts on the rest of the economy. So while the US consumer is still spending strong, businesses are starting to pull back. And so as we think about the ripple effects of that, that's what's slowing down the economy. It's that uncertainty that we need to get through and continue to be be positive about what's going to happen. And our network is pretty advanced. So I think about it, we've got 66 million consumer households. We bank 3 million small businesses. We bank 1 out of every 3 mid-market companies, and we bank 5,000 of the largest companies in the world. So we have a pretty good base in which to talk about. So when I give you some feedback from that network, this is what I'm hearing. So changing expectations, not only just about the global economy, but more importantly about the impact of technology. Your ability to invest in it, whether it's in your supply chain or how you manage your financials through an ERP, but candidly, the strategic impact of what technology is doing to companies. Because it's not just the advent of social media or, quote unquote, the internet changing your sales channel. It fundamentally changes how you construct your supply chain. So the consumerization of business. Our users of mobile technology, so business owners, CFOs wanting to approve payments, manage their business on their phones, we've had 165% growth in subscribers year over year. We're up to 500,000, and we've launched it a year ago. First half of this year, business owners have approved almost $250 billion worth of payments on their phones. So the world has changed dramatically from the last couple of years. Other thing under expectations, you're expecting a lot more, and more is being expected of you in terms of your role in people's supply chains. So are you a partner or are you a supplier? And it's a very different mentality that's happening, and that's something you need to focus on. Acquiring and retaining talent. With a 3.5% unemployment rate in the United States and gridlock around immigration policy, the number one thing I hear from companies that we bank, and I bank over 30,000 companies between $5 and $50 million in sales, is the ability to get talented workers. Whether it be coders or welders, there's a dearth of all of them. And the ability to get them to help drive your business forward, it's not that it's not an opportunity, but it's can you find talented people and retain them to go forward. And we're seeing some pretty creative things going on in the marketplace, whether it's really people converting to stock ownership plans, people thinking about buying out student debt, people investing heavily with local universities and municipalities around training programs. If you can't find skilled labor, let's build them. I know that's happening here in Georgia. How you manage your working capital. So while I think business owners are opportunistic, or optimistic, I should say, I think that there's a lot of things thinking end to end about your supply chain and thinking about it from a different lens. What's the risk you have to your business of your suppliers? How risky are they? I know you think about the credit risk of your clients. Do you think about the risk of your suppliers, your partners, and candidly, your board of directors? Who's supporting you? Are you really focused on just the core fundamentals? Receivables, payables, inventories, CapEx. One of the big things of this persistently low interest rate environment is you have commercial real estate bubbles in many places in the country. And so thinking about, should you sell your real estate and lease it back? Should you buy? Should you make real estate as an investment? How does real estate play into your wealth transfer from a private banking, personal wealth management perspective? All those things are a question given where we see valuations in many markets. And thinking about your balance sheet from a private equity standpoint, private equity is knocking on all your doors every day long. How do you think about is that the right money to take? Is that the smart money? It's going to help me grow. Those are all things to kind of consider. And the last thing that's really a hot topic is cybersecurity. So you all are the #1 target for fraudsters, for criminals, not only because they wanted to have easier access and you're a lower hurdle, but more importantly, because you are the entryway into larger companies. So if you're in a supply chain of a Bank of America or an AT&T or a BMW, you're a vulnerability point. So can you invest in the amount of cybersecurity and train your employees to look out for schemes and scams? Those are all key things. So planning for succession. I'll hit this one briefly. But thinking about, do you have a plan for the future? Not just personally, but for your business. What's your out? How are you thinking about that, given we're about to go through some uncertain economic times or start to enter into them now? What's that going to do? And to that point, do you have an advisory board? Many of you don't have formal boards of directors, but do you have lawyers, bankers, accountants, who are your board you can go to who can tell you no, who can give you true, honest advice and not be on the gravy train with you, but really think about how do they help you ensure wealth transfer over time. Those are all questions that people are asking us, is how can we be that partner? And do you have a proper management team? Do you have a CFO, not a bookkeeper? Do you have a real head of operations? Do you have a real head of sales? People with experience who can help you navigate the difficult times ahead. Those are all questions and things that we hear clients asking us and thinking about. And so lastly, we've been asking our clients this fundamental question, but what would you like the power to do? And really we want to do that to make you really step back and think and spark a dialogue with that advisor group, not just your bank, but everyone, to make sure that your plan for the future is really aligned with the actions you're taking today. So thank you with that. I'll turn it over to my partners to my right.
Thank you, Ather.
Thanks,
you.
man.
That's right. I think there's so many nuggets there that we could have picked through, but I really took home succession planning and the external environment and the impact on how our businesses operate. But we're going to change the conversation a little bit and talk about the client. And so, Craig, let's turn it over to you. I know that BMW has been on this client-centric journey for a while, as well as your expertise in the sales process. But before you talk to us a little bit about that, tell us what you and your teams deliver for BMW every day.
Tell us what?
What you and your teams deliver for BMW every day.
So what we try to deliver, and I'm actually going to just, with that question, jump in with hopefully an answer. My name's Craig Westbrook, and I'm Vice President with BMW of North America. And what we are is we are the ultimate driving machine. BMW has been the ultimate driving machine in the United States for 43 years, and another 60 in Germany and other